add Somalians to the people who are no longer protected under the temporary protection status. That's right. They have just announced, maybe yesterday, that Somalians will no longer be protected under TPS, temporary status. These are the countries that have been lifted. All these people need to go back to their home country. Now, as you know, well, that the Somalians probably are already set financially to go back to their own country. But let's investigate this, shall we? Why can't we get any of that back? Why have they set up their nest egg over in their own country using our tax dollars without them being held accountable? We want some of that back. You send it there, you can bring it back. How about that? Also, apparently there's this little tidbit about Omar's sister. Haven't really dug into that yet, but I think there's going to be some complications coming her way.
So welcome back, guys, to my YouTube channel. It's no longer news. The federal judge initially pended the repatriation of Somalis back to their home country, just as it has affected all the various groups that we have mentioned. Now it's like it is the turn of the Somalis, and now the Supreme Court has given the Donald Trump-led administration a green light to go ahead with the repatriation of Somalians. The Somalians have been covered by the TPS program for roughly about 35 years thereabout, and now it is coming to an end. The videos that we're sharing is purely for educational purposes. We have a couple of videos that we want to share with you, and most Americans are in support of the repatriation rather of these Somalians to their home countries. So if you're coming across my YouTube channel for the first time, you're welcome. Join me as we go on this ride, as we examine the contents that are available on this platform, and after which we'll come back to give you our own personal analysis. So hang in there.
Democratic judges are saying they had enough of this. Barack Obama's appointed judge, coming out of Massachusetts, just handed the Trump administration a huge victory, which most likely is going to rattle the state of Minnesota. And yes, Elon Omar, I'm sure that some of these people that are about to be deported the hell out of here are probably friends of yours, and there is nothing you can do about it. 1,100 more immigrants down, millions to go. You see, TPS, in case all of you don't know, is a humanitarian immigration program that can allow people from other countries who are facing wars, disasters, or other conditions to help them and temporarily work and live in the United States of America. And the key word was temporarily. The program was designed to help them from not being deported, not based on their immigration status. Democratic Supreme Court Judge Allison Burroughs basically have just ruled and said that she has had enough. So now the judge from Massachusetts has lifted the stay. All that means is that the Department of Homeland Security can now proceed forward with deportations at will. Now, I got to tell you, as a humanitarian myself, normally I would find some kind of compassion and I would feel horrible about the situation. But with all of that alleged criminal activity coming out of Minnesota and all the fraud that has been uncovered, in this particular moment, I will tell you that karma is a son of a bitch. And there will be no one else to blame but yourself and the community that has let you down. So I just only have one question for the citizens of the United States of America. Should TPS actually remain temporary? Or should people be allowed to stay indefinitely, where their home country remains unstable, regardless of the corruption that has been coming out of Minnesota?
Boy, that karma coming quick, ain't it? Somalians, what happened? Huh? What happened? Your TPS just been lifted? after 35 years. Y'all remember all that when Trump became president? Black people don't know who their daddy is. We ain't nothing but crackheads. We go in and out of jail. We can't read. We can't write. We below the worst. We are the worst of the worst. Y'all remember that? Yeah. See, karma always come back. Now your ass is being deported. At least most of you. After 35 years. See? Karma is a bitch. And it ain't all about what you said about black Americans. It's the dirty shit y'all did in America. You wanted to be segregated, right? So you're going to be segregated your ass back to your country. And we will be tearing down that Somalian flag because this is not Somali. This is America. Y'all done did welfare fraud, Medicaid fraud, daycare fraud, housing fraud, green card fraud. How can a country take you out of your country and make sure you live better than how the hell you was living? And America give you a chance in life, and this is what you do when you came to America. And karma got you now. Thank you, President Trump, and his other 5 black nations also. But we'll talk about that later. But one thing about black Americans, we don't have no TPS. We can't be deported. That's why you're mad.
Alone. Look at this. 81%. Forget all the other stuff, cash assistance, food stamps, Medicaid, just any welfare overall. 81% of Somali immigrant households in Minnesota are on welfare. So what's my point? My point is, I get it. You know, you got folks come here on TPS, you know, get on this welfare, get all this free stuff and all these benefits. I wouldn't want to go back either. I promise you, I wouldn't want to go back. So I get it. But, you know, it's time to go home.
These are people that have been not successful. They're people that have been, in many cases, failures. They come from other failed countries, and they come here and they tell us how to run our country. They come from places like, I won't mention because I don't want to get myself into a controversy, but they come from countries that are not great. They come from, let's say, as an example, Somalia. Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia.
We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. We love our brothers and sisters who are Democrats, but you left us. And because the left left us, join the right, vote for Trump, 2024.
A few moments later.
You are not going to believe this. Most Muslims supported Trump.
Mr. President, we campaigned for you. We have hope in you. We see hope in you.
But he never really liked them.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you.
Was it Tina Turner or Diana Ross that said, "Don't be a fool for love," when love really don't love you? In situations like this, I feel like singing that song. Sometimes I feel like put my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. The only person I love is God. Sometimes I feel like saying, "Lord, I just don't care." But you got the love. I need to see me through. You got the love. I only love God. You got the love. All his creations. You got the love. I mean, I love all people, really. You got the love. You got the love. I love the women. You got the love. You got the love. I love the men, but not in like a disgusting, in like a godly way. In a godly, I'm a Christian. You got the love.
Every American should watch this. US President Donald Trump scored a major legal victory after a federal judge cleared the way for his administration to move forward with ending temporary protected status, or TPS, for Somali nationals living in the United States.
Come on in, Patriots, because we got a bombshell that has dropped. After all of that woofing, after all of that talking that Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz and the rest of these clowns out here were doing, while America was being defrauded by many, many billions of dollars, and they were talking big to the president as if they could stop anything. Well, the activist judges that stepped in to try to block it have failed. And surprisingly, it was an Obama-appointed judge that overturned the blocking of Somalis being deported. And guess what now? As you see right there on the screen, it is open game on Somalis to be out of this country because their temporary protected status is over.
Hey everyone, I'm out walking my dog right now, and some news just came up that I think is kind of interesting. So, we know that temporary protected status has been something that the Democrats have used for pretty much permanent stay in the United States for foreign individuals. We just saw that a case for Somalis has just gone and been reversed. So the Somali TPS, temporary protected stay status, has been removed, and those Somalis are now going to go back to Somalia. Now, you may say, well, Mike, it's temporary. How can we send them back? They've been here for 35 years. 35 years. That's about 14% of the time that America has existed. They came here, and that's temporary. And you'll hear Democrats scream, well, we can't send them back. That's not right. Their nation is difficult, and they need to stay in America. But they don't, actually, because they don't want to be Americans. They want to be Somalis in America and use our resources. That's not the same thing, and that's not a reason for them to stay in America. So the question we have to ask right now is, we're going to hear, and we are hearing, from Democrats, especially like in Dearborn, in Michigan, that, oh, no, we've got to keep those people. And I have to ask the question, how many of them may have been illegally registered to vote? How many of them have voted? How about this? We know that about 80% of all Somalis in America are receiving some form of government aid, some federal funding to some degree. So they've been here temporarily, and they didn't take the opportunity to improve their lives. Instead, they've been living off of our government and our taxpayer dollars, and now it's time for them to go back home and make something of their lives. Why is that such a bad idea? You tell me.
They don't have the choice to self-deport or to be forcefully deported. Let's hone in on the Somalis for a second, though. Up to 80% of Somali-born households here in the U.S. are on some form of public assistance. That's higher if they have children in the house, up to 90%. This isn't making America stronger. This is sucking the lifeblood out of every American citizen. The left obviously wants to keep these people around for their votes. It's time for them to go home and make their own countries great. Plain and simple.
So we have some major news, not only for President Trump, but for America and Americans at large. So a federal judge out of Massachusetts finally uplifted the TPS, temporary protected status, for the Somalis out of Minnesota. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's go back all the way to 1991 when the Somalis first received the TPS status due to war. That's almost 40 years ago. But according to the Democrats and the liberals, TPS, temporary, should mean permanent. It should mean permanent. So not only have they been pirating America and the state of Minnesota for 40 years now, they've been assisted, aided, and abetted by Democrats. It is not enough just to deport the Somalis and their fraud. You have to deport the Democrats who aided and abetted them. This is what I voted for.
Remember the whole lawsuit about Somalis and TPS status? They tried to sue, claiming that it's actually racist and that Trump said a bunch of horrible things about Somalis, and therefore they should get to stay in the United States of America. I think this is about 1,100 Somalis. Well, the judge had issued a stay, Allison Burroughs. She's an Obama appointee. Now that's been reversed, completely reversed. So those Somalis, they're good to go.
Whether you like it or not, we're here to stay. So the sooner you get used to us, the sooner we'll all get along. And, suck it up, just what? We're here. We're Americans just like you.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Most Somali immigrants in America are here on a temporary protective status. Basically, their home country, Somalia, is unsafe, so they're here on a work authorization. However, if that's to be ended, things can happen for the Somali community. First, the loss of legal status. Secondly, they're not able to work in the United States. And then most importantly, the risk of deportation. There's a huge Somali community in the Minnesota-St. Paul area. And of course, if the TPS status has ended, it will affect their community tremendously. What do y'all think? My name is Tiffany. I lost 150 pounds in 2.5 years. And I also report different news topics as such today. Tap in.
Did a federal judge just give President Trump the green light to deport Somali TPS holders? He sure did. And here's what happened. A federal judge in Massachusetts just lifted the block that prevented the Trump administration from ending temporary protected status, or TPS, for Somali nationals. TPS, as in temporary protected status. TPS exists under Section 244 of the Immigration and Nationalities Act, 8 U.S. Code, Section 1254A. Congress gave the federal government authority to designate countries for TPS when returning to those countries would be considered unsafe. But Congress also provided a mechanism to terminate TPS. It's 8 U.S. Code Section 1254A, B3B. What it says is that the government can terminate a country's TPS status when the statutory conditions are no longer met. And that's exactly what the president did with Somalia. The original termination was scheduled for March, but a federal judge temporarily blocked it. That block is now gone. Here's the part people are missing. This isn't simply about President Trump deciding he doesn't like TPS. Congress created the TPS system. Congress wrote the termination authority into federal law. And of course, the DHS is the agency charged with enforcing immigration law. That's 8 U.S. Code Section 1103A1, by the way. And of course, the president sits at the top of the executive branch. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution vests executive power in the president. Article 2, Section 3 requires the president to take care that those laws are faithfully executed. So when the executive branch carries out a termination authorized by Congress, that's not the president creating new immigration laws. That's the executive branch enforcing existing federal statute. But it goes a little further, and that's the Supreme Court decision of Mullen versus Doe. That decision says that the TPS statute generally prevents courts from reviewing unconstitutional challenges to TPS. That is a major limitation on judicial intervention, by the way. So where does that leave Somali TPS holders? Because the nationwide Somali TPS termination is in effect right now. Losing TPS means losing special protections, unless that individual has some other lawful status or protection. So the question isn't, can Donald Trump deport Somalis? The real question is, did Congress give the executive branch the authority to terminate TPS? And the answer is yes.
TPS just ended for Somalis, y'all. Another legal win for the Trump administration. Yeah, a federal judge has cleared the way for the Trump administration to end TPS status for Somali nationals. The ruling could strip nearly 1,100 Somali TPS holders of their protection from deportation. So that means 1,100 Somalis is on the chopping block for being deported. Here's what happened. They want to let y'all know what happened. A judge had previously blocked the administration from ending Somali's TPS designation, but after a recent Supreme Court ruling limited how federal courts can review certain TPS terminations, the judge lifted that block. That means DHS can now move forward with ending Somali's TPS protections. Important. This is important, y'all. This does not mean everyone is being deported immediately. People who lose TPS can become subject to removal if they have no other lawful status or protection in the U.S. So that means you don't have to go back to Somalia, but they have to leave the U.S. if they don't have any other protection.
It's funny how the mainstream media reports that the people of the United States are against Donald Trump's immigration policies. And they'll say, polls say that 70% of Americans are against Donald Trump's immigration policies. And now they're doing that with the Somalians. But then you go in the comments and that's not what you read.
The largest
I love
in the
ICE
U.S.
raids. We're just getting started. Minnesota needs to be rescued big time.
Minneapolis City Councilman Jamal Osman was born in
Thank you,
Somalia.
Mr. Trump.
How did it hit you when you heard what the
As an
president had to
African,
say?
I support Trump.
You know, the saddest part for me was just trying to answer my daughters
All
and saying
comments
that why
and
are
support to Trump.
being singled
Even
out.
from
Administration
Africans,
officials
it's
say
just
ICE
crazy.
in Minneapolis
Kenyans
is
supporting
not targeting
President
the
Trump.
Somali
I
community,
stand
but
with
just
Trump, and I'm a
enforcing
Kenyan.
deportation orders
Deport
already
them
issued by
all.
judges.
I voted for this. As you can see by that little sample, even Africans don't like Somalians. And they're in support of Trump deporting them. But the truth is, after the Somalis did what they did, people are not having a lot of support for them. Or sympathy, or empathy.
Hey, yo. These Somalians, in Minnesota, yo, They talking that big talk. I'm telling y'all need to go and just search on TikTok. They talking that big talk. First, they started saying that Minnesota was promised to them 3,000 years ago. Listen, they talking about they gonna take over, and when they take over, they gonna kick black people out. First, they're gonna get rid of black people because But keep in mind, they said they're not black. They're Somalians. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get rid of the Europeans in our country. They talking that big talk. Look, like y'all have the highest welfare. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy how you say you're not black, but when you sign when you do that paperwork to get those benefits, y'all say y'all black. Yo, they talking that big talk, and it's not even their country. Like, yo, if you were still over there, yo, most of y'all be dead already. Like, it's the entitlement. It's the entitlement. Yo, it is time for them to go. And here's my problem. Listen, I understand that a lot of immigrants, when they come to America, they don't do no absolute research on American history. Maybe your kids will understand American history when they go to our schools. Maybe. Especially since they're changing up a lot of stuff. Maybe. But yo, these people don't even understand the groundwork of America. Like, because America was so nice to them, I truly believe that a lot of these immigrants perceive us as weak, divided. Listen. Right now, America, it don't matter whether you're black American, white American, Native American. All we doing is just being patient and just waiting. But we getting ready because these threats coming from a lot of these immigrants say they're about to take over. Like, yo, they don't even understand how our government works. Our government has been watching them. They're looking at their weak points. They're looking to get rid of them. They probably don't even see them as a threat, but they see them as a problem. They don't even understand when D-Day come and they're back in their country and they're suffering, they're gonna look back on this moment like, damn, if I'd have just did this, that, and the third, I wouldn't be in a situation. Like, yo, they don't understand, but no, they're gonna find out the hard way. They really think they about that life. Listen, all right. I honestly, I hope everybody is making sure they apply to ICE. Okay? Get that extra money so we can get rid of them. All right? Get rid of all these people. Get rid of all these immigrants who are not trying to assimilate to America, who are not trying to assimilate into the culture. And I'm not even saying it's black culture, white culture. I'm just talking about the American culture, period. All right? Because you can't come here and force your views on us. That's not how that works, okay? But they're going to find out. But definitely threaten the president? Look, it don't even matter whether we like our president or not. You can't be an outsider and threaten our president. Now, we can talk about him because that's like we talking about our parents behind our back. You know what I'm saying? That's like me saying, like, my sister, or you saying your brother ain't shit. That's a little bit different. But you can't come here and you are a guest in our house and threaten our government, telling us what we're gonna do. Oh yeah, they're gonna find out real quick.
Come back, guys. A quick one. I remember that I did the revoking of the TPS early, and people's reactions to it. We've had the Mexicans being deported. We had the Asians being deported, and we had other nationalities. But it's like this is the time for the Somalians, and there's a whole lot of reasons why. If you can look at the videos that we have taken a critical look at, why people are sounding the way they're sounding. I remember I did a video sometime talking about, the corruption that was taking place in Minnesota, how Somalians were perpetuating all kinds of fraud, from daycare fraud to schooling fraud to immigration fraud to housing fraud. You can imagine about 80 to 90% of the Somalian residents who are present in the United States of America are basically living on state welfare. So you're having hand downs, you're having T-pens, and you have done this for 35 years, 35 good years. Whoever was born 35 years ago by now should be an adult. And so this is milking, taxpayers' money. And people are talking, people are complaining. Coupled with all of the fraudulent acts that is surrounding your persons and your identity, and the senator that is from Somalia is in the House of in the House of Senate. So it's not good for Somalians right now. It is not good at all. And these are things that, it's like, for example, it is prayer answered for most people on the right wing. Finally we've been able to get rid of these guys that have seemed to fester and exploited the resources that are hard earned, that are meant for American benefits. And the funny thing in all of this, not to speak down on anybody, the privileges that these immigrants enjoy, black Americans do not have those rights, do not have those privileges extended to them. I remember some of these immigrants came in, especially some of these Somalians. You come to America, you say to the black people, you are not learned, you are not educated, you call them all kinds of names. Then you had the Democratic Party in power, your proximity to whiteness, you felt that foundational black Americans do not count, they do not matter. Now the chips are down. And it just reminds me of the period when the Latinos were crying and Hispanians were crying over what was happening to them by way of deportation. Now it is Somalia. And the funny thing is that it just has to end. That is why it is called TPS. It's not a permanent resident thing. No, it's just for you to be able to stay away from your country while there's contention, while there's strife, and soon afterwards, when there's return to peace, you should return back to your host country. But 35 years, I think the United States of America has played its cards well. They have done well for the Somalians. And anyone who is reasonable, who has a thinking, should not be complaining at this point in history why these guys need to return back to their home country. I think it's hard time that people need to go home and fix where they are coming from, fix their nations, fix their nationalities. I don't have a problem. All the concepts of people traveling other places to find greener pastures is okay. But on the grounds of TPS, it is what it is, and that is what it is. And so, but that is my thought, that's my opinion. I want to know what your thoughts, your opinions are in the comment section. If you're coming across my YouTube channel and you like what we do, please give me a thumbs up, follow our YouTube channel, so that whenever we bring up new updates, you'll be the first to be notified. Thank you very much. So let's have your opinions in the comment section. Trust to see you again on my next video. Shy.